Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Video Mojo. My name is Jon Leland, and with me, my guest and longtime collaborator, Vince Casalaina, who is working on a documentary about classic sailing ships on the San Francisco Bay, the vintage wooden ones. And we've been consulting and using AI, most notably Google's NotebookLM. And we want to share with you about the process of how using AI and using NotebookLM has really enhanced Vince's pre-production phase. Hi, Vince. Welcome.
It's good to be here with you, Jon.
So when you came to me for some AI consulting in the development of your film, what were your expectations and how well has the collaboration met your expectations in terms of moving your project forward?
Well, at every step of the process, I've found that working with you in AI has been extremely helpful. The first pass that we did, which was just what I thought the documentary might be, gave me a place to start. Then as I started to do more and we could refine what it was we wanted, we could move on to deeper and deeper into AI, and that proved incredibly helpful.
Well, I'd love to know more what you mean by incredibly helpful, but I want to give the audience a sense that we're going to talk about how we used AI for the story structure, how we used AI for refining the contents, and then also some preliminary experimentations that we've done with Sora to create footage of these, I don't want to call them ancient sailboats, but historic sailboats that are, decades old. And the film is called Wind in Their Sails, Death and Resurrection, because the fact that these boats are still on the bay is not a given. And that's kind of like part of your mission, right, Vince?
It is definitely that. I'm hopeful that this will broaden the scope of people's understanding of these boats and why they're important to save.
So when you say that the AI process enhanced it and you were delighted, can you give a little more specifics about the difference that it made? And then we'll move on to talking about these particular steps.
Sure. So I just had this idea that these are beautiful boats and we can tell a good story and it'll be historical. We'll go back to the Indians and their canoes and step through to modern times. It gave me enough material from that I could then take that, rewrite it, and that became the first hard copy that I had to go show people what I wanted to do. And because I really didn't have an idea about how to structure even that part of it, that it was very nebulous. And the AI interface that we did with 2 or 3 passes at the prompts really developed something that I felt I could use.
Yeah, so let's look at NotebookLM. Thank you for that. I have to say that the collaboration was something that was really fun for me in order to really kind of explore and discover. So we started out with identifying, and you can see it in the right panel here, based on the materials that he has, what are the main themes of the documentary? And we clarify that. And then in the second pass, we talk specifically about cinematic structures. And NotebookLM gave 3 options: the cycle of the wooden boat, the life cycle of the wooden boat, a portrait of the community, and a thematic exploration. And I remember that I prompted to talk about a 3-act structure, which I believe is something that you're planning to use. Is that correct?
That not only am I planning to use it, but that's become the basis for everything that I've been writing. That I've not necessarily used Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, but when I'm writing, it always starts out with what we had as Act 1, moves to Act 2, goes on to Act 3, and it's made the writing to different people, like a pitch letter or bi-monthly newsletter. All of those have that same structure.
Yeah, so I do know that that's kind of like night and day, and it kind of like gives you the clarity. And what I've observed actually in your process as you've moved along is a kind of confidence that you have a strong story structure and kind of know where you're going. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's really true. And when I've only had a few opportunities to pitch the story to high net worth individuals, and when that happens, I get good response. I haven't yet gotten money, but people are really excited about what I'm trying to do.
Maybe we should just put a note in there if people want to contact you about the film and are interested in supporting it. what's the best way for them to get in touch?
The best way is to email me at Vince, VINCE, Sale, SAIL, at AOL.com.
Awesome. So the other thing that people may or may not have seen in NotebookLM is probably the most famous feature is this audio overview. And it's really kind of remarkable. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but just to give people a taste, it took all the inputs. So this is over here on the left side is all the ingredients. Vince gave me transcripts from research interviews that he had done. We could have uploaded the audio files and described it. But, these are all, whatever, I think it's 20 something interviews that you did. And this is the audio overview. I'll play just the intro that gave Vince another perspective of as if there was a podcast about his documentary.
Ahoy there, listeners. Welcome aboard for another deep dive. This time we're headed to the waterfront of Sausalito to explore the fascinating world of wooden boats.
Great.
We've got a real treasure trove of source material to delve into.
Oh, interesting.
We've got interviews with boat owners and shipwrights, historians and enthusiasts, all sharing their passion and insights about these
Quite a collection.
an incredible vessels. Yeah. And from what I've been reading and listening to so far, it seems like there's almost
So those folks are not human beings. Those are AI voices, and the entire dialogue is generated by NotebookLM. We could go further, but we won't. So then when we imported all of these transcripts, Vince, why don't you describe the process of what we did with it and how that was useful?
So when we were developing the 3-act structure, we said just some bytes out of those transcripts. And so for each one of the 3 acts, they gave me a couple of bytes, which gave me the lead to go, okay, I know what I'm looking for here. And then I could go search other people's transcripts for similar material to back up what they had.
So it's almost like you're getting a pre-edit of the way that what you're going to be able to include in each part of the story. Is that right?
Yeah. It like I say, I take this basic structure that I got, and whether it's a 1-page pitch or it's a multi-page document, it all revolves around that 3-act structure.
Cool. Is there anything else that you want to say about NotebookLM, or should we move on to Sora?
Let's move on to Sora.
All right. So sharing a different screen. I mean, so what we were doing here, and you might say it different, Vince, so fill me in. But basically, we wanted to experiment and see. There are still some of these wooden vessels that are on the bay. But as you'll see in one of the flybys, and I spent very little time on this, really. This was just kind of a proof of concept of, can we do something interesting inside Sora? Obviously, flying by the mast while it's sailing and perfectly positioning the Golden Gate Bridge in the background is not something that would happen automatically. Or easily. And we're talking to a filmmaker here who flies drones and sailboat races and all kinds of stuff like that. Do you want to say more?
Yeah, and the interesting thing was that the first couple of passes that we tried at this were not successful. One of them, it looked good in the perpendicular view to the boat, but when you made the boat turn, it had no third dimension.
Right. So these are the last renders that I did. This one, I think this is the best one. I don't know why I put the still at the beginning, but so this is AI generated material of a wooden boat that was based on a photograph. That's the photograph that we loaded in. Notice there are 2 Golden Gate bridges and there's the beginning of the shot. So that's a glitch, or as my friend from AI Salon would say, Kyle Shannon would say, embrace the jank. But it's pretty impressive of a sunset view right from here. I think is a usable shot. So that's I think the best of what we got, right, Vince?
Yeah, this was the best that we've gotten so far, and that was pretty good from a sailor's perspective.
Right, because it's water level. I like the way it revealed around the mast.
Yeah,
This was another one.
right. That one didn't work because it's not the right sail configuration.
Right, and I looped it, and then it became very unrealistic in the loop.
Right. So
I think this was pre-loop. This was a little more like slow-mo realistic. That one's not so bad.
Yeah. So The sail configuration that you're showing is a Marconi. It's called a Marconi sail on the first one because it's triangular.
Right.
And this boat only is gaff rigged, which means that it has both a lower boom and an upper boom. It's a quadrilateral. You can
Okay,
see it.
you've proven that you're actually really a sailor now.
I am.
So I think that's a quick overview. Anything else you want to say in terms of the process or the value?
Well, I'm hopeful to be able to use it some more, to have it go in when I have better prompts for each one of the sections, and have it give me maybe 10 bytes for each section or 15 bytes for each section, and then let me play around with those and see what I can do.
Cool. Well, so I'm actually going to put a plug in here before we sign off. I realized that I have a graphic that I just created this morning in Ideogram for the course that I'm developing. It's called Prompted to Create, a breakthrough approach to AI for marketers. Discover the practical tools that unlock creativity and make marketing fun again. I don't know. It's a draft image. But my most important point here is that I like making everything fun again. And for me, AI really is fun. And the creativity and the process of helping you enhance your film was big fun. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be part of your team and to bring AI to the party and help enhance the process. I hope you raise money and can get this film made. I think the ships are beautiful and important. Again, if people want to support the film or ask Vince a question, I know he's open to answering it. Vince Sale, VINCESAIL at AOL.com. Thanks for being here. See you next time.